The Skin I Live In is the latest film by Pedro Almodovar, starring Antonio Banderas as a plastic surgeon who's basically keeping a young woman prisoner in his home while he experiments on her to give her the perfect synthetic skin for burn victims. And it's a film that straight away I wanted to see because I am a fan of Pedro Almodovar. I absolutely loved All About My Mother, thought that was a fantastic film, and I really was interested to see how he would apply his filmmaking style and politics to what is essentially a horror movie in the same style as maybe like The Silence of the Lambs or something like that. And I have to say that this film is probably my favourite film of the year so far. I think it is the best film I've seen this year so far, and absolutely adore it. I honestly was kind of taken aback by how good it was. Now, straight away, what I liked, the performances across the board by Antonio Banderas and the young woman whose name escapes me who plays his victim. The performances on both their parts are fantastic. They really are. And the young woman actually has such a complex role to convey. It is one of those films that when you watch it a second and third time, you will see subtle nuances in her performance that you didn't see the first time. And her performance is flabbergasting. And Pedro Almodovar's direction is kind of, for the first act at least, very restrained. You know, he's a director who uses such a colourful colour palette in all of his movies, and it's very kind of toned down in this film, and there's a lot of grey and a lot of sterile white and skin tones used throughout this film, and it's very different in style to his other movies. Now, what really the film that this film reminded me of is Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, not only in terms of the narrative but also in terms of the style, the pace. It's almost like, I get the impression that Pedro Almodovar was writing a love letter to Vertigo. Now, as you can probably guess, there is a twist in this film, and you can feel it from the very first scene. You know that there's going to be some sort of horrific twist kind of climax, and it's this story arc that Almodovar really excels at. And it's the way I won't give any spoilers, because to do that would be to completely undo the narrative of the film, but the way he treats the twist is very refreshing. Now, it doesn't come at the end of the film. You get the twist in the tale halfway through the picture, and once you have the twist, it then goes back and tells through flashbacks exactly how we arrived at that moment, and then it gets to present and then carries on with the film. And it's this disjointed narrative, and the fact that you get the twist halfway through that gives it a really fresh and pacey feeling. You're never bored. And I did think going into this film, like, the idea of two characters in a house for an hour and 45 minutes could, you know, if it's not done really well, it could be quite boring. But once you get the twist in the film, in the narrative, in the script, then the film opens out, and you go to different parts of the country and different towns, different settings, you meet different characters. And I have to say, the twist I didn't see coming, but at the beginning of the film, I actually thought, wouldn't it be messed up if, and then that was like a fleeting thought, and then the twist comes and it's kind of akin to that thought. But in all honesty, I didn't see it coming, and I did really enjoy it. You know, I love the way that Almodovar treats his usual themes in a different way. You know, the themes of gender, of sexuality, of vengeance, of self-discovery, of you know, confronting secrets in your past, confronting family members. You know, all these themes that have been so prevalent in Almodovar's films are still in this one, but he treats them in a different way. But he has to, because the genre's different. This is horror. This is not drama or sex comedy that we're used to seeing from Almodovar. It's horror, and I have to say, he does horror really well. What little violence there is in this movie isn't gratuitous at all, although it does hit home. Some of the violence in this is really hard to watch, especially some of the medical scenes. There are no jump scares in this movie. He uses the score in a way to build tension, the use of violins and things like this to build tension, but never makes the audience jump, because he is aware that sometimes it's what you don't see, and it's what's left to the audience's imagination imagination that's truly terrifying. And also the score then evolves into like a pacey, electro, beaty kind of 80s synth score halfway through, and it really kind of takes off and elevates the film, and the scenes that it plays under are elevated because of it and given a much different flavour than they otherwise will have had. It's so interesting, this meld of styles of Almodovar's, you know, thematic integrity, applying it to this horror film. It works so well. I honestly cannot recommend this film enough. I would love to sit here and talk in depth about it, but like I said, to give away the plot is to really undo what is such a carefully stacked house of cards of a narrative that I could never forgive myself if I ruined it for anyone. But rest assured, as I said, this is Pedro Almodovar's love letter to Vertigo, out by Alfred Hitchcock, in a horror setting, featuring one of Antonio Banderas' best performances, alongside this young female actress who is just mind-blowing how good she is, and I just know that on repeat viewings you're going to get so much more out of her performance that you didn't see the first time, that she really deserves special mention, so much so that I probably should have remembered her name, but it has completely escaped me. This film is the best film of the year so far. I absolutely adore it. As I said, I'm a fan of Pedro Almodovar. Not everything he's done, but what I've seen, you know, I've really liked, especially All About My Mother, but I didn't let that passion for his movies get in the way of this one. I didn't want to go in and make allowances for it because I like Pedro Almodovar. It's a very interesting, complex and rewarding, also horrifying, repulsive and terrifying movie that I would highly recommend to any cinema goer. Yes, it's Spanish and it's subtitled, but get over your own prejudices, please, and go see a subtitled movie because you will be rewarded tenfold. It's one of the great cinematic experiences of this year and I cannot recommend it enough.